The teachings of Rabbi Ephraim Sprecher, Dean of Students at Diaspora Yeshiva on Mount Zion, Jerusalem.
Today's Parsha is Parshat Shoftim. Parshat Shoftim is always the first Parsha read in the month of Elul. Madua v'lama. Shoftim v'shotrim titein l'cha. That's not proper grammar. It should say Shoftim v'shotrim titnu lechem. If you start off Loshen Rabim, Shoftim v'shotrim, why does the Torah switch in the middle of a sentence from plural to what? To singular? That's not proper grammar. So the Bala Musar say that this is the tafkid of Elul, and therefore Shoftim is always read the first week in Elul. Shoftim v'shotrim, judges and policemen, titein lecha. Not lechem. Every person has to judge and police himself, not the other guy. So therefore it says titein lecha, not lechem. Don't judge and police the other guy, but judge and police yourself. Titein lecha, and therefore it's in singular. That's the tafkid of the month of Elul, that every person should judge and police himself. It's called self-examination, introspection, and that is the tafkid of the month of Elul. And then the Torah goes on, it says, don't set up a pillar. What has it got to do with the month of Elul? Judge and police yourself, don't set up a pillar. What does A got to do with B? The answer is, if you want to judge and police yourself, you have to get off your high and mighty horse. Don't think that you're a matzeva, that you're high and mighty, you're God's gift to the world. Don't make yourself a matzeva. A matzeva means a high and tall pillar. If you want to be able to do introspection in the month of Elul, to judge and police yourself, you have to get off the matzeva. You have to get off your high and mighty horse. You have to humble yourself. Introspection, cheshbon hanefesh, soul searching, you can only do if you don't consider yourself a matzeva, a high and mighty pillar. Humility. The granddaddy of all tshuva is what? Humility. Don't make yourself into a matzeva, the Torah tells us. And then the Torah goes on, in this week's Parshat, there's a mitzvah to appoint a king over yourself. But we have no king today, and we know the Torah is forever. So why dafke in Parshat Shoftim, which is the first Parsha read in the month of Elul, it says you shall appoint a king? Madua v'lama. The answer is that Soim Tosem Alecha Melech, that's the tafkid of the month of Elul, to appoint the King of Kings over us. So therefore this Parsha, Shoftim, is the first month in Elul that's read, and it's a mitzvah to appoint the Melech Malchei Melachim. The tafkid of Elul and Rosh Hashanah is to appoint the King of Kings over us. Not like some abstract king, but God is my personal King and Savior. And that's the tafkid of Elul and Rosh Hashanah, to appoint HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the King of Kings. Therefore you blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah. You coronate the king. When Queen Elizabeth got inaugurated, they blew trumpets. Lahavda Elif Abdullah. So Soim Tosem Alecha Melech. We inaugurate the King of Kings on Rosh Hashanah. We coronate him. And that's the tafkid of Elul and the tafkid of what? Of Rosh Hashanah, to appoint the king. Tzvi Yehuda Cook Zechet Shalig Avracha says something amazing. Again, we're less than 2 weeks away from the election. And we know that the Parsha of the week always speaks to what? Current events. This is just amazing. Now, Tzvi Yehuda Cook Zatzal says that when you vote for a prime minister in the state of Israel, you're doing the mitzvah of Soim Tosem Alecha Melech. Kawinki that we read this Parsha right before the elections, that according to Rav Cook Zatzal, voting for a prime minister in Israel is doing the mitzvah of appointing a king over us. Bibi Melech Yisrael. The closest thing we have to a king is a prime minister. So voting for the prime minister, according to Rav Kook, is a mitzvah contained in this week's Parsha, Soim Tosem Alecha Melech, to appoint a king over us by voting, and also by appointing the Melech Malchei Amlochim over us, which is the tafkid of what? Of the month of Elul. So appointing a king is a mitzvah. One of the Taryag mitzvahs in the Torah. So the question is, if that's the case, when the Jews asked for a king in the book of Samuel, God and the prophet were very upset. Why were they upset? Why was God upset? Why was Shmuel upset? It's a mitzvah in the Torah to appoint a king. So God should have been happy. Shmuel should have been happy. Jews want to do a mitzvah. It's like putting on tefillin. And what's the message for the month of Elul? It's just amazing how it all comes together. How it all comes together. It's a mitzvah. So why was God upset? Shmuel HaNavi was upset. So the answer is, what does Elul mean? Everybody knows Anila Dodi Dodi Li. But the Gemara Bracha 17 says it means something else. Ahuv lamala v'nechmad lamata. You have to be beloved to the one above, but you have to be pleasant, kind, and gracious to the people below. The Jews wanted to do a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, huv lamala. But by asking for a king when Shmuel was still alive, they gave him a shtach. They upset him. They gave him mental anguish. What am I, an old dish rag? He was only 50 years old at the time. He felt rejected, upset, and hurt. What do you want to cast me away? I gave you my whole life. So yes, it's a mitzvah to appoint a king, but make sure my mitzvah does not cause anguish to another person. Because ahuv lamala, but don't forget nechmad lamata. They caused him tsar. They upset him. And God felt his pain. So therefore, God was upset. And how does God console? Look in the book of Samuel. How does God console him? He says, my dear child Shmuel, don't be upset. It's not you they rejected, but what God says? They rejected me, which is not true. God told a white lie. They didn't reject God. They only rejected Shmuel. He's too Haredi. Lighten up. A king will get with it. More modern Orthodox. So God told a white lie. He said, it's me they reject, not you, Shmuel, which wasn't true. But to ease his pain, his anguish, his mental anguish, and his tsar, Kodesh Baruch Hu told a white lie. He says, me they rejected, not you. Which wasn't the case. So we see, Elul, don't forget, Nechmad Lamata, you want to do a mitzvah. Make sure my mitzvah doesn't cause anguish and agony to another person. Because if that's the case, God says, I don't want your mitzvah. They should have waited until the prophet was dead, and then they should have asked for a king. Timing. Who says the name of the game is timing? Real estate, location. Timing. They should have waited until Shmuel dies and then asked for a king. But he was very much alive. He felt rejected and hurt, cast aside and rejected. And therefore God was upset with them asking for a king. They didn't follow the Nechmad Lamata. Just amazing. Again, we concentrate on the beloved to him above, but the Nechmad Lamata, the Chazon Ish, the great super Haredi rabbi in Bnei Brak, Zechet Tzadik Revacha, he was asked a question. A person attended a shir. Listen to this. And people davened mincha before the shir. The shir went on a long time, and there was one guy there who didn't daven mincha. And it was getting late. So he walked out in the middle of the shir. The other guys had already davened mincha. Then he felt guilty. He embarrassed the speaker. So he went to ask the Chazon Ish if he did right or not. Chazon Ish says, don't walk out in the middle of a drasha, even if you will miss mincha. It's not worth shaming the rabbi in public to walk out. Ad kedei kach, the Chazon Ish. He told him he did wrong. You should have missed mincha. Not to embarrass the speaker, you walked out in the middle. V'nechmad lamata, the other half of Elul. V'nechmad lamata, to be pleasant and gracious to the people below. Speaking about walking out in the middle of a drasha, all my stories are true, but some didn't happen yet. This Rabbi was making a long speech. In the middle of the speech, the president walks out. Happens. So the rabbi got upset. He asked him afterwards, why'd you walk out in my middle of my speech? So the president said, listen, I'll tell you, Rabbi, I'll tell you why. I needed a shave. He says, you needed a shave? So why didn't you shave before my drasha? He says, before your drasha, Rabbi, I did not need a shave. So he should have waited after the drasha. The shave can wait, right? Not to embarrass the speaker. You miss mincha, the chazayin ish. You miss mincha, which is the most important three prayers. Nechmad lamata. Isn't that amazing? The next time you want to walk out in the middle of my speech, don't do it. Right? Pretty amazing. There's so many mitzvahs in this week's Parshat. Parshat Shoftim, V'Shotrim. There's a mitzvah to be wholehearted Hashem your God. Tominti Hashem Elohecha. You shall be wholehearted with Hashem your God. What does that mean? So Rashi and the Rambam say that means you're not permitted to go see Gene Dixon or a tarot card readers. A Jewish person is not allowed to consult an astrologer. That's not being wholehearted with Hashem your God. Rashi says, walk with him, complete faith and hope, wishing and hoping only in him. And don't try to find out what the future holds. And then you will be God's what? Unique portion. So this is the month of Elul. We have to trust Hashem. We'll talk Sunday more about that. Trust and hope only in Hashem. Kaveh el Hashem chazak v'yamas yibecha. We say Psalm 27, the month of Elul. To put our hope and trust and faith only what? In HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not in some crystal ball sayer. Even if they see something, a Jew is not permitted to consult them. Wow. To trust only in Hashem and only in Him and nobody else. That's pretty amazing. This is the tafkid of what? Of the month of Elul. Of the month of Elul. Pretty amazing. Again, the parsha of the week. You couldn't make this up. Always speaks. You don't need the Bible codes. We just had a confrontation with Hezbollah on one border, and the other border it's Hamas, our peace partners, and we handled them with kids' gloves. It's insane. I don't know if to laugh or to cry. Before we shoot and bomb them, we knock on the door. We send them leaflets. I'm not making this up. Please, we don't want to hurt you. And the Israeli aircraft, before they bomb, they drop a dud on the roof to warn the terrorists, please leave. We don't want to hurt you. I don't know if it's sick, a laugh or to cry. But in this week's Parsha, if only our leaders would read the Parsha this week, Devarim 21, when you go to war against your enemy. Says Rashi, isn't the word superfluous? Who do you go to war against? Your friend? Well, when you go to war against your enemy, the Torah is telling us what? Not to be afraid of them and to destroy them. So Rashi wonders, who do you go to war against? Your friend? Isn't the word your enemy superfluous? Says Rashi, Yeh b'necha k'oivim. Treat them like an enemy. Al terachem aleihem. Ki lo yirachmu alecha. Don't send them flyers and leaflets and knock on the door, please leave. Treat them like an enemy. Show them no compassion because they will not show you any compassion. If only our fearless leaders would learn the Rashi in the Parsha of the week. Treat them like an enemy. And don't show them any mercy because what? They sure won't show you any mercy. That's just amazing. When Hamas shoots rockets into kindergartens, do they warn us first? Please evacuate the kindergarten? They don't do that. They shoot dafka to hurt and maim and kill innocent Israeli children. So we have to be more religious than God. The Torah says, treat them like an enemy. Why are you warning them? It's not PC. The Torah is not PC. So the Torah goes on, when you go to war against your enemy, there is a Kohen HaMashiach LaMilchama. Today we would call it the chief chaplain of the IDF. There's a Kohen Mashiach LaMilchama, and he would go and give the troops a pep talk. Who was the first Kohen Mashiach LaMilchama? Who was the first one? Pinchas. Pinchas ben Elazar and Aaron a Kohen. So in the days of the temple, we had a Kohen Mashiach HaMilchama who would accompany the IDF troops to battle, and then he would what? He would give them a pep talk. Today it's the IDF chaplain. And he would say, Shema Yisrael. Listen, Israel, you are approaching Malchama against your enemies. Don't be afraid. Don't panic, because Hashem, your God, goes with you to go to war against you to save you. So why does he say Shema Yisrael? Should have said, listen, IDF troops. He says, listen, Israel. Shema Yisrael, says Rashi. Amazing. The troops are nervous. Maybe they won't come back from battle. Maybe they what? They're afraid they did some sin. They won't be successful. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sota, Shema Yisrael. Afilo ein bachem schut elo krishma bovad. If the only mitzvah the IDF soldier has is what? He said Shema Yisrael that morning or that evening. If that's the only schus, then you are worthy that Hashem will what? Protect you. Isn't that amazing? The IDF soldier, only if he read Shema, if that's the only mitzvah he has, he's worthy to have Hashem's protection and salvation. And the Kohen HaMashiach HaMilchama Avid, the IDF chaplain, he points that out, that the IDF soldiers are all tzaddikim and kedoshim. If all they did was just read Shema Yisrael. That's the only schus they have. That's pretty amazing. This is a true story. You can Google it. In the last Gaza war, what year was that? 2014, right? You can Google this. I'm telling you this, you couldn't make this up. You can go, Uncle Google doesn't lie. The IDF soldiers were walking in Gaza, and there's snipers all around. They're being shot at like sitting ducks. So they begin to say Shema, as the Pasuk says. They're about to approach this mosque to search it. This lady Mechabel, this lady terrorist, runs out. She hears the Shema, says, don't walk into that mosque. It's a trap. They're going to gun you down. And they didn't walk in there. There was a trap. What? This lady terrorist in Gaza, you know, many women are terrorists. Why did she warn them when she heard what? Them say Shema Yisrael. This lady terrorist, who was she? She was a daughter of a Jewish woman. Nebuch, unfortunately, there are many Jewish women that take off with Arabs. Nebuch. I live in Pisgat Zev. It's a terrible problem in the Kenyan. The Arabs from all around, Beit Hanina, Shuafat. They come into the Kenyan Pisgat Zev. They're Musa. They said that Moshe. They're, what do they call them? Abraham. They say Avi, David. They speak perfect Hebrew. And they razzle-dazzle these girls that Nebuch come from broken homes. And they pick them up and they take them back to the Arab neighborhoods. Terrible problem. So this teenage girl who was a terrorist was supposed to what? Shoot at these Israeli soldiers. She said, when I heard you saying Shema, my mother, that's what she said to me every night before I went to sleep, even though she was my father's an Arab. But my mother sung me to sleep with the Shema Yisrael. When I heard you soldiers say Shema Yisrael, it awakened my what? My Yiddish neshama. Don't go in there, it's a trap in that mosque. It's what? An ambush. And this Shema Yisrael awakened her, and she came back with these soldiers back into Eretz Yisrael because of the Shema Yisrael. You can Google the story, Avi. It's just amazing. You heard the Shema Yisrael. And that's how what? She saved the lives of the IDF soldiers, and she saved her own life. Her spiritual life. She got her Judaism back because of the Shema Yisrael. An amazing story. Amazing. So then the Kol Mashiach makes the speech, and then the MPs make a speech, and they say, anyone that built or bought a new house and didn't move in yet, let him go back. Perhaps he'll be killed in a war, and someone else will what? Move in. And someone that what? That planted a vineyard and didn't what? Eat the fruit, let him go back. Someone that betrothed a woman and didn't consummate the marriage, let him go back. Let him go back. Why? Because if he gets killed in the war, he bought a new house, didn't get a chance to move in. He planted a new vineyard, didn't get a chance to enjoy what? The fruit. He betrothed a woman, didn't get a chance to what? Consummate the marriage. Perhaps he'll get killed. And Rashi makes an incredible statement. V'dova shel agmas nefesh hu zeh. This is agmas nefesh for him. How do you say that in English? It causes him mental anguish. But he's dead. He stepped on a landmine. So never get a chance to move into his apartment, enjoy the fruits of the vineyard, or consummate the marriage with what? With his bride. So he has to go back, says Rashi, because if he get himself killed, he will have agmas nefesh in the afterlife. I thought, but it's over. When you're dead, I thought it's over. It looks like it ain't over till it's over. Agmas nefesh means mental anguish and agony. The neshama, it's dead, but still knowing that what? That someone else married his sweetheart, and someone else enjoyed the fruit of the vine that he planted, and someone else moved into the house that he bought but didn't get a chance. Somehow it will cause him, the neshama has no physical feelings, but mental anguish is part of the soul. It's incredible. It ain't over till it's over. The neshama will have agmas nefesh and olam haba in the afterlife. So God says, I can't allow that. He has to be released from the army because the soul will find no peace in the afterlife. He'll have anguish. So there's no physical pain in the afterlife. There's no physical body. But the neshama can still feel anguish. That's just an incredible idea. It's pretty frightening. We have to let go. Who says you can't take it with you? You know, Jack Benny said, if I can't take it with me, I'm not going. But he went anyway. Wow. So the Torah warns us over here to destroy the enemy completely, not to show them any mercy. Seems to be cruel. To destroy them all. The highest morality is not allowing evil to win. To destroy evil at all costs. That's the highest morality. That's pretty amazing. To show mercy to our enemy is being cruel to our civilians. To the enemy, you have to be cruel. Otherwise, you're cruel to the civilians. That's a pretty incredible idea. So the Torah tells us that we have to destroy them. Anyone that threatens us, collateral damage. What about in World War II? What about collateral damage in Dresden? What about in Hiroshima? Right? If this population supports the enemy, then they're the enemy. Because the enemy could not attack us if they didn't have support from what? From the population. Think about that. Think about that. So who else is excused from war? So these people that didn't consummate the marriage, didn't move into an apartment, they didn't enjoy the fruits of the vineyard, and there's someone else, the Torah says, someone that's afraid. He's afraid that he did some sin, and he's afraid that he will not fall in the war, so he can go back to. If he's afraid of a sin that he committed, he's also is excused from the army. So Rashi says something amazing. The MPs, the military police make this, anyone in the category, and also someone that is a coward. Why is he a coward? So the Talmud says he's afraid that he did some sin last night, and therefore he will fall in battle. He's also excused. But again, the month of Elul, Rashi points out, so they get excused. Do we know who's leaving because he's a coward, because he's afraid of a sin? Do we know who's leaving because he didn't consummate the marriage? No. There's this general amnesty. So Rashi says not to embarrass the person who feels he has to leave the war because he's a sinner. We say no, he's not leaving because he's a sinner. He didn't consummate his marriage with his bride. He didn't enjoy the fruits of his vineyard. He bought a new apartment, didn't move in. That's why he's being excused. The Torah covers up for the sinner, not to shame him, not to embarrass him. And Rashi, even though he's a sinner, but no, we say no, he's leaving because what? He bought a new house, didn't move in, he betrothed a woman, didn't consummate the marriage, and not because he's a sinner, even though the real reason is what? He's a sinner. We lie for him. Isn't that incredible? Elul ahuv lamala nechmat lamata. You can tell a white lie to save someone from shame and embarrassment. And mental anguish, you can even tell a white lie. That's pretty incredible, how the Torah tells us this. Then in this week's Parshat, there's a mitzvah not to cut down a fruit tree. You're not allowed to destroy a fruit tree. You hear? And the oral Torah says it's not just a fruit tree. You're not allowed to destroy anything that a human being can what? Benefit from. You're not allowed to destroy. There's a law in the Torah that anything that a human being can enjoy, you're not permitted to what? To destroy. So the question is, when a person sits Shiva, he tears his shirt. So there is a mitzvah. But stam just to tear a shirt is baltashchis. Not just chopping down a fruit tree, but to destroy anything a person can use. It's against the Torah. A person sitting Shiva, that's part of the mitzvah to tear what? His garment. But otherwise, it's usher to tear a garment. It's baltashchit. So the question is, why, when a person is sitting Shiva, why is there a mitzvah to tear the garment? What? Why? Let me give you the Kabbalistic reason. It's a great nechama for the relative. Just like the garment, the shirt or the dress, is that the person? It's only a covering, right? It's a consolation for the mourner. Just like my torn shirt or dress, it's not me. It's only what? My garment. So my dead relative whose body is torn and broken, that's not him. That's only his garment. The godly soul is not torn and 6 feet under. That's only the bodysuit. My beloved relative is in heaven. So it's a great nechama why you tear your garment. It reminds the person, just like the garment is not me, it's only a covering that I put on. So my body that is torn and broken for my dead relative, it's not my dead relative. It's only his garment that is torn and broken, but the godly soul remains what? Eternal. The relationship between the body and the soul is like what? The garment to the person. The body is only a garment. The garment is broken and torn, but not the person. And the godly soul remains eternal. So that's why there's a mitzvah to what? To do kriya lo yaleinu. It's a great consolation to the relative, that his beloved relative is not torn and broken underneath the ground. That's just his bodysuit. You remember Neil Armstrong on the moon? You couldn't fool me. I knew that Neil Armstrong was not that funny-looking spacesuit. I knew Neil Armstrong was inside the spacesuit. We're all wearing a spacesuit. What's the spacesuit? The body, to maneuver. But the real me is what? The godly soul, which is inside the spacesuit, which is inside the body. And that's a reminder. Right? The Torah goes on and gives the mitzvah of Egla Harufa. Egla Harufa. Very strange mitzvah. If you find a body, a murder victim in Eretz Yisrael, he's murdered and you don't know who killed him, then the city closest to what? To the murder victim has to decapitate a calf in a valley, and then the Ziknei Oir, the Sanhedrin of that local city, they have to make a statement. Our hands did not shed this guy's blood. So Rashi wonders, these are old rabbis with long white beards. Do you think that they're Carlo Gambino? Da, 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 da. Why did the rabbis, the Sanhedrin, have to make a statement, our hands didn't shed this guy's blood? Who would accuse the old rabbis of being what? Bugsy Siegel. Or what's his name? Louis Lepke. Strange statements. So Rashi quotes the Gemara in Sota. No, we didn't accuse the rabbis of being murder incorporated. They're saying that what? We didn't see this guy, and we didn't send him away without food, drink, and a proper escort. Because if we ignored a stranger in town and didn't give him a proper meal and an escort, and something happens to him, then somehow the Sanhedrin are what? Responsible. Why? Gets even stranger. The mitzvah Nossos Orchim is Eshel. Achila, Shtia, Leviyah. The mitzvah to give a guest hospitality is 3 parts. Food, drink, and an escort. You would ask me, what's the most important part of the mitzvah? I'd say, I want the food and the drink. You can keep your escort, right? I want the prime ribs, the steak, the cholent, the gefilte fish, and the good wine. But the Rambam says, of the 3 parts of the mitzvah, the most important part is what? The escort. Who needs your escort? What's going on? So the Rambam doesn't give an explanation. Otherwise, I'd be unemployed, right? He just says that the most important part of the mitzvah of a hospitality is not the delicious food and drink, but it's the escort. Madua v'lama. So the Maral explains, the food and the drink, that wears off. Give the guy a Chinese meal, in 12 minutes he's hungry again. MSG, right? Even give him a steak dinner. In a few hours he's hungry again, and give him a nice glass of wine, or a bottle of wine. In a few hours he's thirsty again. So the food and the drink, that pleasure is temporary, it wears off. But the escort, says the Maral, that remains in his neshama forever. And therefore the Rambam says, Achi choshuv leviyah, the escort, 10 feet out the front door, minimum. People ignore that. The escort doesn't wear off. The hana for the neshama is not like a Chinese dinner. The hana that the neshama appreciates that people invited her, neshama is feminine, the escort, that remains with the neshama forever. It doesn't wear off. And therefore, the Ziktei Bezdin say we did not leave this guy without an escort. The Maral says something amazing. When you give a guest an escort, you're giving him good karma. That's my words. You're giving him an aura. I'm telling you. And therefore, he's protected from muggers. Because he feels good about himself. That the person not just gave him a meal, but he had the courtesy to walk him out the front door at least 10 feet down the stairs. That means he enjoyed my company and he wants me back. It gives the neshama an aura, says the Maral. Now, if I didn't grow up in the 1960s and 70s in New York, I wouldn't know what the Maral is talking about. But in the 1960s and the 70s, the New York subway system, You can Google this, I remember. The New York Police Department, a lot of muggings going on in the subway. The police said, if you don't want to be mugged, when you walk in the subway, you have to walk stolz. How do you say that in English? You got to walk, with your head held high, with confidence, and a strut in your walk. Because if you walk like a nebish nebuch, a wild animal in the jungle, which the predators, who do they look for? The weak and the forlorn. So the NYPD, I remember this, Yehuda, NYPD, they said, when you walk in the subway, don't walk forlorn. I think it's an English word. Yiddish looking forlorn. Forlorn. Walk stolz, upright, with confidence, with a strut. And the mugger will look somewhere else. The morale in the 1500s said this. You give someone an escort. You make him feel good about himself. These people want me. They respect me. He walks with confidence. The muggers will stay away. They'll look for somebody else. But if you just send him out of the house, okay, you had your meal, get out. He feels like a nebuch, forlorn, like a nebish. And he makes himself vulnerable to a mugging attack. And therefore, the most important part of the mitzvah of hospitality is the mitzvah of leviyah, of an escort. That's pretty amazing. It gives the person an aura and good karma. Amazing morale based on the end of the Parsha here of why the Sanhedrin have to say, we did not let this guy leave without a meal, and most important, we did give him what? An escort. The Haftorah that we read this Shabbos, again, it fits in so nicely with what? With the theme of Elul. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, what is our tafkid in the month of Elul? Isaiah 51. God says, the tafkid of a Jew is l'ntoa shamayim. We have to plant heaven on earth. You hear what the Navi is saying? God is speaking to us in the mouth of Yeshayahu. There were millions of prophets, and millions. And where Megillah said there were millions, how come only 48 are written down? 48, right? Because those millions spoke for their time. We don't care what they said. But the 48 Nevi'im and the 7 lady prophets speak to us, and Yeshayahu says, the tafkid of a Jew, especially in the month of Elul, l'ntoya shamayim. We have to plant heaven on earth. How do you do that? To plant heaven on earth. To do mitzvot. To do chesed. Acts of graciousness and kindness. We are planting heaven on earth. Every time you smile on somebody, or say a kind word, a word of encouragement, you're planting heaven on earth. That's what God wants of us. He told Isaiah 51. Be my partners. God says, I can't do it without you. That's incredible. You are my partners. You have to plant heaven on earth. In every act of kindness that we do, we plant heaven on earth. We are God's partners. This amazing Haftorah that we read this Shabbos, Isaiah 51. And then the Haftorah goes on and tells us, wake up, Uri, Uri, wake up. Some people, they can't see the forest for the trees. Look around you, says the prophet. Look what's happening to Jerusalem. Do you know, next time you get stuck in a traffic jam, from Ashkelon or everywhere, you're stuck in a traffic jam. What are you supposed to say? Thank you, Lord. Baruch Ato Hashem Bonei Yerushalayim. You know why there's traffic jams in Jerusalem? Because Bonei Yerushalayim, the bracha we make every 3 times a day, Krish Baruch Hu, you're building Jerusalem. There's construction going all over. Tachtem Merkuzit, Binyan Ummah. Thank you, Lord. Bonei Yerushalayim, I'm living the prophecy. The national bird of Israel is the building crane. That's a national bird of Israel. So next time you're stuck in a pkak, what are you supposed to say? Baruch Ato Hashem Bonei Yerushalayim. Puts a whole new perspective. The Navi is saying, wake up. Don't complain about traffic jams. Jerusalem is expanding in front of our eyes. The prophecy that he said 21 years ago is coming true right in front of our eyes. We just have to open our eyes. Wake up, he says again. Uri, Uri. Wake up. Shake off your dust. Jerusalem. Start-up nation. Appreciate it. Wow. Pretty amazing. And the Navi tells us, leave Chutz La'aretz. Now's the time to come home. Suri su'atzu misham. Now's the time to what? To come to Eretz Yisrael, to take part in the greatest moments of Jewish history. The rebuilding of the Third Commonwealth. How could you just let it pass by? Join us, our brethren in Chutz La'aretz. The fantastic miracle of the startup nation. Become part of it. Help us build the dream. Yeshayahu is saying, wake up and see what's happening in the beautiful land and country of Eretz Yisrael. Thank you very much.
For more of Rabbi Sprecher's teachings, visit rabbisprecher.com.